There was some good, some bad, but a lot to talk about from West Virginia's 38-15 loss over Penn State. This is the Blue Gold Sports Podcast. What's going on, everybody? Wesley, Shoemaker, Patrick Reneau, back with you today. Week 1 loss to Penn State on the road last night on Saturday night. Overall, let's just get right into it. I'm not surprised they lost by any stretch of the imagination. I thought they competed pretty well, especially in the first half. And then overall, I think it's just the wear of those two Penn State running backs, Drew Aller being a really good quarterback, proving that, and just not having the most experienced quarterback for yourself. And that Penn State defense was really good there in the second half. So that was my main kind of thing. I thought West Virginia hung in there, just couldn't quite get over that hump in the second half.
Yeah, I think they performed well in the first half. Going into halftime at 14-7, I think that was a big win for West Virginia, keeping it close. I think Garrett Green during that game, he showed signs of being able to be a really good quarterback. Drew Aller, I think, as Neil Brown said, the goal was to try and make Drew Aller beat West Virginia, and Drew Aller did just that in his first start. He proved that he is a legit quarterback.
Yeah, I thought we'll get to Aller's in the way that we'll get to that in a second, but I thought things started out in an okay manner if you're West Virginia, especially on offense. Picking up that first down on the first drive, I thought was huge, just to kind of give yourself a little bit of breathing room. And then you obviously then punt, second offensive drive, same thing, get one first down, kind of stalls out from there. But you had not a lot of successful passing down the field early on. Part of that was in pass protection, there was not a ton of time given. But also Garrett kind of escaped a little early in some spots. I thought he could have hung in there a little more, but it's also the decision of if he escapes and he can run, he can run. Let's start with the defense side of the ball. Obviously the 72-yard touchdown against Aubrey Burks isn't great. It seems like he was there in position. He kind of just fell down, which sucks because you would love to have seen him try and make a play there. But he really had no opportunity the way he kind of fell down. And that was kind of a, oh no, here we go again. But then the defense kind of held their own for the remainder of the first half, I'd say. I think they were most successful when they got pressure to Aller. The only thing I will say is that last year we talked so much about getting the secondary. It seemed to me that the secondary played well, but the pressure needed to get there, and the pressure could never get there. For me, it was like you would get pressure on Aller, and then he'd step up and make a play. Like that 72-yard touchdown early on to Lambert Smith, like he stepped up, made a play. And there would be times where he would roll out of the pocket or roll away from pressure, step up in the pocket, and he'd be able to make a strong throw to an open receiver. So I'm not really too upset with how the defense in the secondary covered because there were injuries also. But I think that it's more of a matter of you have to either have someone get to the quarterback or you have to be able to still stay strong on the back end. And West Virginia just got neither of those things to happen last night.
No, the secondary I did think covered really well. The only issue was they weren't able to get the pressure, and so that gave the Penn State receivers, who are very talented, a lot of time to try and find a way to still get open. And then Drew Aller, being 6'5", 250, guy who's hard to take down to begin with, is able to step up and then make that strong throw to an open receiver in a window that not a lot of guys are going to be able to make sometimes.
Yeah, Penn State had 9 what are titled as big plays. So big plays are statistically titled as gains of 15 or more yards. They had 9 of them. They had 239 yards of quote unquote big plays through the air, and they had 325 yards of total passing yards. So for me, it's you've got to be able to kind of do one or the other. But I thought the tackling was better. You could tell where Penn State's physicality and size, especially when they would bring a tight end and have three wide receivers and one of them being a tight end and then throw a little screen and then just kind of let bodies do their thing. That was kind of, it's hard to defend that, especially when you're undersized there. I thought they kind of got a little bit bullied there, and the screen game did hurt the Mountaineers, but most of all, it's those crossing patterns where Penn State was able to just be like, hey, our offensive line can hold up long enough. Drew Aller can step up, make plays, and he did.
Mhm. Yeah, it's I think the linebackers played really well last night. The tackling, there were some plays where the running backs for Penn State, Singleton and Allen, you know, plays that probably should have ended in a 2, 3 yard gain. And instead they would break two tackles and get the first down. There was one play, I think they had 6 yards to the first down, had him stop the line of scrimmage, and the guy broke the tackles and just bulldozed through to get the first down. So tackling definitely something that looked better, still could be improved upon, but I think the defense improved a lot from last year for West Virginia.
Yeah, you talk about the linebackers. Trey Lathan, he had a really good performance. He said he played the mic. Well, Lee Koba also just man. He's just a man. Like he's just that simple.
Hmm.
Like everyone knows that he pops off. Trey Lathan, he had 6 tackles, which is the third most on West Virginia's defense, and he played well. He was at the mic. They moved Lee to the will. A little bit of a switch up there. But I thought both of those guys played when there were question marks surrounding the will position all of fall camp. But to your point, I thought, yeah, the tackling it can be better, but we've heard so much about physicality, physicality. I thought they brought physicality to this game, which if you want to say it's a measuring stick game, I was not gonna think it was a measuring stick game, but to be able to kind of bring a physical side of your defense to a Big Ten football team on the road, I'm not mad at that.
Mm-mm. No, that was one of the things that West Virginia was, as West Virginia fans were definitely worried about with, on the offensive side of the ball, the noise and, the false start issues going that we've had with that offensive line. And, only 5 penalties for West Virginia in that game, which was, I think that was a huge win for them. Keep the game clean at least.
5 penalties. I think one was a hold, one was an illegal shift, a couple of personal fouls, which were one of them I thought was a little ticky tack, but nothing too detrimental to
Hmm.
success. And I think playing disciplined football in that environment is really good. And I think that also helped the offense kind of get the running game going. I thought the running game was like as advertised as we would have expected. Um, CJ Donaldson, he's just continues to get better and rush and run the ball well. 18 carries, 81 yards, and a score. Garrett Green, 15 carries, 71 yards, and a score. His numbers are a little different because they count sacks into his rushing numbers. But the point being is that the Mountaineers ran the ball effectively, and they have to continue to do that throughout the year. And if Garrett Green can just become more of an accurate passer, his legs saved the day multiple times. They were 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10s, where he'd rush for 8, 9 yards. They pick it up on 4th down. Or there was one play where they ended up going for it. It was their first touchdown drive. Garrett Green, he made that touchdown drive happen. He went from the top of the field to the bottom of the field, gained 9 yards, got the first, the next down on 4th down on a sneak. Next play is a 37-yard pass to Devin Carter. 3 plays later, you're scoring 7. So you don't have that last year with JC Daniels. You might not even have that with Nico. I thought Garrett Green showed why he is the quarterback, and I think there is a lot to like with him going forward.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that Penn State defense against Garrett Green was able to keep the ball out of their hands. He finished the game with no turnovers. Um, you could see Garrett got more comfortable later in the game when he was making some throws to Devin Carter, and there was some zip on those throws on that 37-yard pass to Devin Carter on that first touchdown drive. He kind of floated it. You saw Devin Carter had to stop and slow down
But
to
Devin was
turn
also
around for it.
wide open, and so
Yeah,
you don't want to zip something, have it go like you had to just get the ball there accurately, and he did just
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Devin was wide open, so I still liked what he did with it. And then you could see he got as the game went on, he got a whole lot more comfortable, and that ball was getting into those windows for Devin Carter usually to catch it.
I also think early on they were doing a lot of more conservative play calls just because when you're in that type of environment, it's almost better to have to punt. Like it's okay, I'll rephrase. It's always better to punt than have a bad play happen, but it's
Hmm.
almost better to have a couple drives where you don't really do anything, but you're just kind of dipping your toe in the water, like when you're kind of slowly going in the pool or whatever, rather than jump in and it be a complete fail. So
Yeah.
I'm not mad at the play calls in the first couple of drives. The defense kept you in it, obviously. And back to the defense, two missed field goals, people want to say, but like there should have been probably two interceptions there. There was the tip pass from J.J. Hawkins, which probably should have been picked off. That was a great play by him. And then
Hmm.
later on, Beanie Bishop, he's right there. Or was it Beanie Bishop? I think it was Beanie Bishop. Was it Beanie Bishop or Andrew? I think it was Beanie Bishop. He's right there, and he just has to make that play in the end zone. So those are two interceptions that could have happened. Obviously, Penn State missed two field goals, but you kept yourself in the game, and then I think you just kind of lost the game there in the third quarter when Penn State comes out and you get a 3-and-out, which on that third down and short, Aubrey Burks got beat.
Hmm.
Low throw, they couldn't convert, but if he catches that, he's housing that. So you catch a break there, and then your offense just sputters. Penalty, moving back off your 15-yard run, and then you're just never really able to get going after that. And then Penn State puts a touchdown on the board, and then you're chasing two scores, third down and fourth downs, and that was kind of the game at that point.
Yeah, it was the missed field goals obviously helped. The defense did keep them in. You definitely did see some promise from this team for this week one game. I think it was a lot of, not being able to get over that week one hump for West Virginia, but there were question marks with the team, like with Devin Carter. We hadn't seen a lot from him at his previous schools, but concerned about that receiving room. Devin Carter, 6 catches, 90 yards. He proved that he is a legit target and a legit receiver. Um, the play calling, there were a couple plays like on the one trick play, the triple end around or whatever they did.
Let's talk about both. So there were two trick plays that I thought were absolutely foolish. The one, the first one where they had like the flea flicker spread jet sweep type thing. I didn't hate that one, but the one I really just it was confusing was fourth down. If you don't get it, you're going to lose the game, and you bring in a cold quarterback and expect the smallest dude on the field and your starting quarterback to be able to break through and try and get open. Like it's not the best to me. I mean, Neil was pretty upfront about it after the game. He said it was something along the lines of, "If you work, you look like a genius. If it doesn't work, people are asking why. It's just one of those things that didn't work." And I get that. I didn't dislike the little trickery, Kansas City Chief esque merry-go-round, ring around the rosy. I
Yeah,
don't know if you. I mean, it worked. So like, okay, cool.
yeah,
It's just kind of like a foolish thing. I feel like, but if you get the points, you get the points. So the one that really kind of had me questioning was the Nico decision. And I get Nico. You want him to get in the game and you want him to play, but on a fourth down like that, I just think you've got to give the ball to CJ, see what he can do, and just hope for the best. But I don't know if that's a spot for a trick play is when you're chasing points and you bring in your backup quarterback.
yeah. The triple end around, I thought I liked the play. Watching it back since the game, I would have preferred to not. He was obviously just going with the play. I would have preferred to not see him toss that back to Garrett and just take off with it that way because
Yeah, he
there was
looked
a
like
lot of
if
open
he
field.
could have kept going, he could have gotten the corner. He gets yardage there. or
Mhm.
even you let Preston then throw the ball down, like you let a wide receiver. Like that's what I really thought was going to happen. I didn't
Yeah.
think I did not think Garrett would get the ball back, and then it kind of just got blown up in their face.
Yeah, it was just it was a weird way to run a flea flicker. Um, I just it looked like it could have worked with a different design, I think. But also just that defense, they were all over it, ready for it. The Nico one, yeah, you want to get Nico in the game. I don't think that's the right time to get him in the game. I don't think a trick play is the right time to get him in the game either. And the Kansas City Chiefs thing, I thought it was funny. I thought it was cool to see him do it. It was weird, but it
At first,
worked.
I was
So
like, no way they're doing that right now. And then they did it. And then they had the shovel bug. All of it worked for some reason. But no, I think you're right. I think if you're going to get Nico in the game, that's not the spot for it. And also, there's so much talk about how Penn State's quick from sideline to sideline, and they're going to probably beat you sideline to sideline when you have your not fastest guys running the ball. And I'm not trying to take away anything from Preston Fox. I love the dude; he's a great guy, good player, but he's not your fastest guy going to the edge. Neither is Garrett really. So I think moving vertically in that spot is better than moving side to side, especially against a team like Penn State. But um, third down, fourth down, Neil Brown was right. That was the story. West Virginia just kind of failed to convert there later on in the game. Um, Third down wasn't pretty for the Mountaineers, 4 of 14. Wasn't pretty for Penn State either. They were on 3 and 9 at first down. Fourth downs, I mean, you converted 3, attempted 6. If you're 50% on fourth down conversions for the year, that's not terrible at all. It's just, I mean, they picked up some, they picked up others. It's just when they picked them up, obviously, and what they did after the fact. The one thing I really didn't love, it was, I believe it was a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7. They're in the third. You throw a deep ball up the sideline to Preston Fox. Good throw, just couldn't come up with it. Hard play. And then you go for it, and Garrett gets rushed, pressured, and gets killed and makes a bad throw. So if you already know you're going to go for it, I don't really like that taking a explosive play type mentality to the third down. I think you should be more conservative in that aspect. But I do think at some point you've got to try and stretch the field. So I guess why not do it then?
yeah, I thought the line for the most part they did a pretty good job of protecting Garrett. I mean, Penn State had 3 sacks that whole game, and
And one of
for a
the
lot,
and then I think one of them counted on the trick play or on
yeah,
Nico's. I think one of them also counted on Nico's like minus 11 yards or whatever that was.
yeah. So I mean, in reality, 1 sack, 2 sacks, however you want to count it. I thought the line. I think this is the offensive line that we've been expecting to see with that West Virginia team for the last couple years, where they've been the most experienced group each year, and this year it's finally showing. It's translating to the field. Um, I like that Neil was aggressive in this game. He was not shy of going for it on those fourth downs. 3 of 6, like you said, 50% for the year. Uh, Take that. They controlled the clock by a little more than 2 minutes than Penn State. Just weren't able to convert on some of them. And when you're against a team as good as Penn State, you're going to have that.
Yeah, and you're going to have to also catch breaks. And Penn State really did not do anything to harm themselves. I think they had one penalty the whole night. It was like a
Hmm.
false start. Drew Aller didn't turn the ball over. Like they took care of it. Like they did everything they have to do outside of the couple missed field goals to kind of be a good team. And that's what, like, let's be real, that's what good teams do. Penn State
Hmm.
played like they're a good football team, like they're a well coached football team, and because they are. And they showed that last night. But back to the Mountaineers for a second. For me, it's just like I think there's so many things you can grow upon because you showed that you can have these sparks in different places. I think this offensive line, I think this is like the offensive line is going to be great. Like
Hmm.
I think when this team gets into October, they're going to start. They're really going to start bullying some dudes if they hopefully stay healthy. Couple times pass protection wasn't great, as I said earlier, but you're never going to be great all the time, especially when you're facing a talented defense like Penn State. Run block was really good, I thought. There was a couple times they broke runs right up the middle for 7, 8, 9 yards. They also, I think it's important to note, they did not hold when Garrett was rolling out. And so many times you see quarterback rolls out, oh, they hold on the backside, right? And that's a good good thing to me is that they did not like have anything behind Garrett when he was trying to rush. And then let's talk about Garrett's performance. He was never the most accurate passer last year. We knew
Hmm.
he would have to take a step up in his accuracy if he was going to take that next step forward this year. I don't think it's fair to judge him just off of this game yet because of the level of defense that Penn State has. I think once we get past Pitt and Texas Tech, we'll have a much better idea of where he stands as a passer accuracy wise. But his decision making was pretty good.
Hmm.
I think there were a couple times he just didn't see receivers open. I think there was one they were going from my right to left, which was from the opposite view of everything else. So I think it was the third quarter. Like he had a receiver open in the middle of the field. I think it was Cortez Braham. He just didn't see him. Like he just didn't see him. He was rolling right, throwing left. He just didn't see him. But I think that's a thing that Neil definitely said that he's going to work on is having to keep his eyes down the field because as you saw on the flip side with Drew Aller, he's never going to scramble and beat you like Garrett did for 9, 10, 11 yards, but he has the ability to kind of just get out of the pocket and then make the throws. I think if you're Neil Brown, if you're Chad Scott, if you're Sean Reagan, and you can have Garrett roll out and have that speed on the outside, but also have the ability to make that throw down the field, then you're really putting yourself in business because then it seemed like they were always coming at Garrett when he would rush out because they weren't scared he would make the throw. But if you can kind of keep them honest, that's when Garrett's playmaking ability can start to come into effect, and you really have a dual threat quarterback at that point.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to once they've played more games together and things like that. Garrett's going to be able to understand the tendencies of these receivers, like Devin Carter, all those guys. He's going to be able to understand their tendencies. Garrett's also going to become much more comfortable. I mean, this is going to be Garrett. This is a true test for Garrett these first 3 games. Penn State was a real test, obviously. Duquesne's going to be that little tune-up game, and then Pitt is gonna. I think Pitt will show the true colors of the football team West Virginia is going to be this year. Um, back to the offensive line. Did Wyatt Milam end up coming back in the second half?
He did, but he was out for the majority of the first half
Okay, yeah. So
because he
I
also
think,
had a holding penalty. Both tackles, Doug Nestor and Wyatt Milam, excuse me, had holding penalties yesterday. They were the
yeah,
two. They were the two penalties, and then there was the illegal formation, and then there was the two personal fouls.
yeah. So I think as the next couple weeks goes on, Garrett, he's still getting, this is still kind of a new thing for him in the starting role. With experience, he's going to be able to, keep looking downfield, find those guys. And like you said with Drew Allard, that guy, his eyes are moving all over that field at all times. Uh, he's taken that step and up in the pocket every single time, it seemed like. So I think it's just going to take a couple games for Garrett to get comfortable, learn the receivers and things like that.
Yeah, and what I mentioned kind of on the onset about Drew Aller that I wanted to come back to is this: it's like you can see the depth and the talent of Penn State by the fact that you are Neil Brown and you said, I'm gonna go have a 5-star quarterback and make him beat me, right? Like that shows how good their offensive line is, their two backs are, that you're looking dead in a former 5-star quarterback's eyes and say, you go beat me. And
Hmm.
that's a testament to Penn State and how good they are and how deep they are. And so to me, that's the difference, right? Like for West Virginia, you can look in Garrett Green's eyes or you can look in CJ Donaldson's eyes and be like, all right, go beat me. Penn State, you look in their eyes, you say, go beat me. And sure enough, they went and beat you because they have talent at all 3 levels. They have talent um, everywhere across the board. And it's not just Big Ten talent, it's future NFL talent.
Hmm. Yeah, it's Drew Aller, all those guys, Lambert Smith, Wallace the third. Those are guys who, you're going to see them. You're going to hear that name get called on draft day one in the year they're eligible. You're going to see those guys go to the league. Same on the defensive side for Penn State, off on the offensive line, the running backs. Those are guys you are going to see playing football on Sundays.
Let's do one more thing before we get out of here on this Sunday afternoon. I know we briefly talked in our preview podcast about would we be okay with moral victories here for Penn State. I'll go first here. I don't think this really is a moral victory-esque because the score wasn't really that close. However, I don't think the score was as indicative of how the game was played as you might think. I think the
Mhm.
Mountaineers should be happy. Obviously you want to win, but you're only one team ends the year on a win and holding up the trophy, and usually only one team, if that, goes undefeated. So every team's going to have losses, but I think the positives are you just hung with one of the best teams in the country for a half at their place, and you've got a lot of experience against a really good team on both sides of the ball now that hopefully you can take the Big 12 play. And let's look around the Big 12 real quick. Like Texas Tech lost to Wyoming, Baylor lost to Texas State. So I think those were two teams you had us, like we both had the Mountaineers losing to, but like who knows? Like you never really know until the games are played. And I think West Virginia proved, and I'm willing to say this and go on record for this. West Virginia will not finish last in the Big 12 this year. That team that played last night, if they keep playing like that the rest of the year, they are not going to finish last. They won't even finish, I think, in the bottom 4 in this league if they keep playing the way they did last night.
No, and it's Todd Blackledge. He said last night on commentary for the game. He said if West Virginia is able to come out and show that effort, put that effort from last night into every game this year, they're gonna make a bowl game. And that's coming from Todd Blackledge, who played at Penn State, and I think that's a pretty good nod from them. For the Big 12, I mean, Baylor has Utah next week. So
that's going to be a test because Utah went out and they made Florida look pretty dumb with a backup quarterback
yeah,
that they had. Yep.
yeah,
So
Utah
yeah,
was without a couple guys, so that's gonna be a
TCU. I don't like the people saying last year TCU is this year because they are not the same. However,
no.
they were 3 touchdown favorites at home to Colorado, and those boys from Colorado went in there and they beat them. Like it wasn't like, I mean, they won by 3, but they played really, really well. And
Yeah,
TCU's defense struggled to
it's
stop Colorado.
Shadur had 510 yards, and then Travis Hunter looked like a Heisman candidate.
Yeah, I was listening to the game in the car on the way up, and I was like, oh my goodness! Like he played like 143, something ridiculous.
Yeah, he played
143
like
snaps or something like that.
130 snaps. He
Yeah,
had 11 catches for over 100 yards,
an
three
interception,
tackles, an interception.
interception,
Yeah,
a
like
PB. Yeah, he's ridiculous. But he
yeah,
was also the top recruit in the country, and there's a
yeah,
reason for that. But back to West Virginia, I'm not mad about it. The loss sucks, yes, but I think there's a lot to take from this going forward. And if you take it in the right way, I think you are setting yourself up for success heading into Duquesne and then Pitt and then beyond that.
yeah. Moral victory. I don't really think I agree. I don't think it's got that moral victory esque. Um, I don't want to necessarily say West Virginia should be entirely happy with the way they played. I think they should be happy with the promise that they showed. And so now they've got a whole game's worth of film that they can really dive into, break down, figure out what they can improve upon, come Pitt and Duquesne. But I think they should be happy with, they still hung in there. They showed a lot of promise, a lot of potential. Yeah,
Let's be real. Penn State lost 2 games last year to 2 teams that were in the playoff, won the Rose Bowl, and are looking to cause damage once again this year. And if you're the Mountaineers, you hope that you can take the lessons from this game, learn from them, and grow because you're still young in a lot of different areas. A lot on that defense. That quarterback still's got a lot to learn, but it seems like there are ceilings that are getting raised with last night's performance, and I think that's what you have to be happy with. So, anything else from you? Or are you good to go?
Good to go.
All right. Well, if you made it this far, we do appreciate you listening. We will be back this week with a Duquesne preview-ish type of pod. Until then, we do appreciate you listening. For Patrick Reneau and Wesley Shoemaker, this is the Blue Gold Sports Podcast.